Hi, Year 8, welcome to lesson 6 of the clock project. By now you should have completed videos 1 through to 5. If you haven't completed any of those, please do go back and do those before starting this lesson. So as a recap of where we should be so far, we've been looking at the clock mechanism, and we should have replicated every single component using Inventor, and then we should have turned them into the virtual clock mechanism, similar to the one on the right hand side of your screen. You've then got all of these components that should have been replicated, and you had the engineer's drawing that looks like this to help you out with that. So as I said before though, if you are missing any of these parts, please do go back to those previous videos and make sure you've created them. You should have already created your virtual assembly. If you haven't done that, please have a look at lesson 5, as that will show you how to put them all together. What we're going to do today then is start creating the actual face of your clock, and you can start to create something a little bit more unique and a little bit more personal to you. We will then get these laser cut, and we will turn them into your real clock that you'll get to take home at the end of this project. So let's have a look then at how we're going to do that. So if we go back to Inventor, now we should already have our clock mechanism as our virtual assembly. So make sure you have got this before continuing. What I'm going to do now though is go to File and New, because I'm going to create a brand new part to start designing our face for the clock. And that's going to be a standard.ipt, and then we click Create. Now with this, I'm going to show you the basics, and from there, you can start to turn this into whatever you like. So once you've followed the first initial instructions to get yourself set up, beyond that, you'll be free to adapt this design to whatever you like. So let's get started then with a 2D sketch. We're going to use our favorite XY plane, because I know how much we all enjoy using that one. And we're going to start by creating a circle in the center of the sketch. And that circle is going to be 8 millimeters in diameter. This is going to be the hole where the clock mechanism is going to poke through the face of the clock. So you have to make sure that one is 8 millimeters. Otherwise, it can't attach. If you don't have that circle there as well, it's obviously not going to work. Next up, we're going to create a square, but we're going to use the 2-point center rectangle for that one. And we're going to start the rectangle in the middle of the circle, and we'll drag it out like so. You can then get off of that using the right click on your mouse and clicking OK before we click on the dimension tool. Now the maximum size for your clock is going to be 140 millimeters in both directions. So I've changed both dimensions there. So whatever you design today has to be within that square. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And you could do anything you like in that shape. So for instance, if you wanted a round clock, you could create a round clock within that shape. A little bit boring though. I would like to think you're going to go for something a bit more exciting. So you could, if I undo that by just going Control and Z, you could start drawing shapes, and you could use the line tool. Splines are quite nice. If you go on the spline tool and you keep clicking, it creates curved shapes. When you're done, you just click the tick and it will leave whatever shape you've created. You could just join it up with straight lines if you wanted to. And don't forget to get off of that tool, you just right click and go OK. You could use things like the arcs. So if we went onto an arc, it creates kind of a curve. So I could do a curve between 2 points, like so. Whatever you do though, you need to make sure you join up a complete shape. There can't be any gaps. It needs to be one continuous line all the way around. If you get rid of any of those points, you can no longer extrude this shape. You can only do that if you've got all the lines joining up all the way around. I'll show you what that looks like now. So if I finish the sketch, I can then extrude this shape. And whatever shape you'll extrude, you'll make it 3 millimeters. If I didn't have that, so I'm just going to use Control Z, I'm going to undo and go back into sketch mode. And if you ever need to edit any sketches on Inventor, you just right click on the sketch on the left hand side and you go edit sketch. If I then took out that line, it then won't let me extrude that shape. It'll only extrude the whole rectangle. So that's why it's really important. So if I go back and edit the sketch again, it's why it's so important that you have a complete shape here. Now, you can go for whatever shape you like, as long as it is within that size and you've got the 8mm hole in the bottom, or in the center of it rather. You can go for anything you like. Make it unique, make it interesting to you. If you wanted to have any cutouts in it, that is absolutely fine. I'll now go through and I'll just do a really basic shape. So I'm going to delete these ones, so you can just click on them and hit the delete key on your keyboard. And I'm going to create a really basic circular clock. And I'm going to make sure it gets as big as I can. I'm going to make it 140, then go right click and OK. I'll then finish the sketch and I'll extrude this one by just 3mm. I might, if I wanted to, create some shapes to cut out, so I could start a new sketch. I might, I'll show you something a bit interesting. Let's go for a slot. I might put some little slots to help tell the time. So I'll create some dimensions on there. I might make them 3mm thick. If I click the ends of the slot, I could then make it 50mm long. And I'm going to show you quite a cool trick now. So if I select that slot by dragging a box over it with my mouse, I can then go to this circular tool up here. If I then click the axis and set that to the dot in the middle, you can see it's now going to copy a range of these around the outside. Now we've got 12 hours on our clock, so I'm going to put 12 slots on there. And if I now finish the sketch, I can do the extrude, but this time is the cut. Remember, if you hover over this one with the box here, it says cut. You can then click on that one. And then I will now go and select all of the slots that I've created so that I can cut them all out. As a reminder, you don't have to do this on your clock. I'm doing it on mine just to make something a little bit more exciting. And there we have it. Now these slots are going to help me out quite a bit because they're going to help me line up the numbers that I could add on later on. So now what I'll do is get this ready for converting to the laser cutter. But only do this next step when you're happy with your design. And it can be whatever shape you like. You can have whatever details and cutouts, as long as it's no bigger than that 140mm and it has that 8mm hole in the center. The rest of this can be anything you like. Go crazy, go creative. What I'm now going to do is save this before I move on. So again, I'm going to save this in the clock project folder that we created before, and I'm going to call this clock face. Now normally this is where we would end our lesson, but it's not quite done for today. What we're going to do is export this face as a design that we can get ready for laser cutting. And we're going to prepare it using a program called 2D Design next lesson. I'm just going to wait for my Inventor to get back. There we go. It's now responding again. So I'm going to click on front. So I'm viewing it front on. And I'm then going to right click on the surface on the face of the clock. And I'm going to click export face as. Once I've done that, you're going to make sure you've got the type at the bottom as a DXF. So this one's already here. If you can't find that, just scroll down on the drop-down menu, select DXF, then call it clock face and save that. Once you've done that, you are now ready to move on to video 7, and that will show you how to convert it ready for laser cutting.